Have you ever met someone who is clearly driven by demons? Someone whose soul is a chaotic, shrieking tempest, but whose exterior is polished to a mirror shine? The kind of person who doesn't drink, or smoke, or party. Someone the whole community sees as a sweet, helpful angel. But you, only you, can feel the rot festering just beneath the surface. You can sense the darkness coiling in their shadow. You can almost hear the faint, discordant hum of something deeply, deeply wrong. Yeah, that was Rita. And this is how she methodically dismantled my life, piece by piece, until there was nothing left but the echo of what I used to be. But before I tell you about the end, I need to take you back to the beginning. To a time when I was young and stupid and believed I was the one in control. My name is Kylan. At least that's the name I'm using for this story. Back in 2008, when I was 23, I left my small Florida hometown for a bigger city in the same state, chasing better job opportunities. I landed a security guard job in a large office building, graveyard shift. Good pay, easy work. Perfect for a young guy trying to get his life started. And no, I'm not mentioning the city or the company. I'm not stupid. But let's just say there is a lot of nightlife there. Now, I'll be the first to admit it. When it came to women, I wasn't the hero of this story. People used to say I had narcissistic traits. And looking back through the lens of all that happened, maybe they were right. I had a way with women, a charm that worked a little too easily. My weakness? Spicy Latinas, Cuban mommies, Mexican senoritas. That was my weakness. People called me a player, and I didn't fight the label. I enjoyed the game. I talked to someone for a few months, and if that spark didn't ignite into a flame, I'd move on. Sometimes things overlapped. Sometimes I got bored fast. I had boundaries, and I stuck to them. But I always moved on clean. No drama, no jealous exes, no stalkers, no one blowing up my phone. It wasn't that I wanted to be alone forever. I was just searching. And until I found the one, I was content enjoying the journey. This lifestyle, surprisingly, left me with a wide circle of friends, a whole network of people, including many women I dated. Life was smooth, effortless. I was well liked. I had options. I felt untouchable. It's a dangerous feeling, that kind of invincibility. The universe has a way of humbling you, and my humility, her name was Rita. I met her in 2012. She was 41, Cuban, and her presence didn't just enter a room, it annexed it. She was loud, vivacious, impossible to ignore. By then I was living in a rented house, a place owned by my ex Janira's father. Janira and I were on good terms, just friends, and she'd convinced her dad to rent me this place and this house. It became the center of my world. 3 roommates, a pool in the back, a pool table inside. It was party central. Music, laughter, the smell of grill smoke, and a little herb in the air. It was the peak of that mid-20s freedom. I was, without a doubt, living my best life. Rita got hired for the night shift. I was the shift supervisor by then. On her first day, I was helping her with paperwork, and I saw her name written twice, Rita Rita, then her last name. I pointed it out. "Is this a typo?" She smiled and said, "No, it's not a mistake, it's correct, because I'm too much. That's why they named me twice." I laughed. It was a funny line. Looking back, it wasn't funny, it was a warning. Rita took immaculate care of herself. At 41, she looked manufactured. Perfect. A tiny waist, obvious implants, lips with just a little too much filler. She was a widow. Her Navy husband had passed 5 years prior. She lived comfortably on his pension in the house he left her. She didn't need this job. I figured it was just pocket money for more plastic surgery. Not my business. Rita also had 3 grown kids and 2 grandchildren. She was married at 16, started having kids at 17. She also lived only 3 blocks from me. I didn't even realize it until I saw her car, a vibrant pearl turquoise SUV with a custom paint job that stood out like a neon sign. It was the same one I'd seen cruising past my house more than a few times. The whole neighborhood loved her. The sweet widow who gave out the good candy on Halloween, who rescued stray animals, who went to church every Sunday. Our boss, Ray, he absolutely adored her. She'd bring him delicious homemade Cuban food, not just for him, but for the whole team. She was always giving. Little gifts, pens, candles. She was very sweet. Everyone at work loved her. That's what threw me off. Rita had a lot of pets, including this little spoiled, fluffy dog named Chewy. Not even a week in, she started bringing him on our overnight shift like it was nothing. She'd take him everywhere, to the guard booth, into the office during lunch, holding him in his little seasonal sweaters like it was completely normal. Cute, sure, but still. It was a dog, at a job. During our end-of-shift paperwork, she'd set up a little workstation for Chewy with his own bed and blanket. And while walking him during her rounds, she'd simultaneously watch a live feed of her house, monitoring her cats in real time. It wasn't just multitasking, it was a quiet, constant need to control everything. She was a control freak, and that should have been the first red flag. I pulled her aside. "Rita, you can't bring your dog here. You know that, right?" She just shrugged, a dismissive little smile. "But he's tiny. He doesn't bother anyone." I know you're probably thinking, why didn't I just write her up? I was her supervisor after all. But trust me, to this day, I still don't know what stopped me. What the fuck was going on with me that kept me from doing my job? And why did I just let her do her will? One night, Ray did a surprise check. Chewy was right there in the office, and I was certain we were both about to get written up. Her for bringing the dog, me for letting her. Rita, holding Chewy in her arms, lifted his little paw and said in a annoying sing-song voice, "Hi, Ray." Ray saw Chewy, smiled at Rita and Chewy, and kept walking. If that had been me, I'd have been written up on the spot. I stood there frozen. What the hell just happened? Am I going crazy? That's when I knew. Rita didn't follow rules. The rules bent around her. For about 6 months, things were normal. Then the dreams started. Vivid, intense, romantic dreams. About her. Night after night. Dreams that felt too real, too intimate for someone I didn't even see that way. The energy between us began to shift. On nights, it was just the 2 of us. The flirting got heavier, more charged. Despite myself, despite dating women my own age, I started wanting her. One night, on the rooftop, the one place without cameras, things went too far. We had a moment of intimacy I immediately regretted. And right after, I felt a cold wave of shame. I tried to pull back, to create distance. That was my first and most critical mistake, because Rita had 0 modern dating experience. Like I said earlier, she'd been married off at 16, started having kids at 17, and skipped the whole normal young adult phase. Emotionally, she was frozen at the age she got married. She didn't understand boundaries, flirting, just talking, or simple hookup. She went from 0 to attached, overnight. So what I saw as a one-time thing, she saw as the start of something real. The next night at work, she came in acting like we were already a couple. We had one of those little pre-shift meetings. You know, the quick rundown before everyone heads to their posts. And Rita, she's standing way too close to me, smiling hard, touching my arm for no reason, saying stupid shit. Oh, Kylan knows what he's doing. Kylan kept me up late last night, all giggling like an emotional 16-year-old girl in love. It was so cringe. I wanted to disappear. She didn't stop. Even after I gave her an angry shut the hell up look, she kept smiling like everything was normal. I kept thinking to myself, this stupid bitch is gonna get me fired. That night, she was relentless. It was just the two of us working. She kept trying to kiss me, to pull me into empty rooms, hindering my rounds. Then she delivered the ultimatum. "I'm not doing my reports," she said, playfully but with a firm pout on her lips, "unless you kiss me." I was exhausted, irritated. I just wanted the shift to be over with. So I gave in. One quick peck just to shut her up and get her to do her job. Instantly, she was beaming, happy, and finished her paperwork like a model employee. Since we'd been coworkers for a little bit, she had previously sent me a friend request on Facebook, and I added her. I didn't think much of it, but after that shit show she pulled, on my next day off, I'd had enough. To send a clear message, I unfriended her. That was my second mistake. My phone exploded. 78 missed calls, 80 texts in all caps. I turned it off and kept shooting pool with my roommates and a couple girls they'd invited over. Later, one of my friends came inside all freaked out and said, "Yo, someone or something just ran out of your bushes." It was like a shadow. I couldn't tell if it was a person or a cat. The stalking had started. At work, she confronted me immediately, demanding to know why I deleted her. She pestered me until I added her back, and the second I did, she was back to her old tricks, cornering me, touching me, demanding affection. Like a fool, I sometimes gave in just for a moment of peace. Just kissing, just touching. I told myself I was keeping a boundary. But this didn't last long though. Rita grew impatient fast, pushing for more than just kissing. And despite how much she annoyed me, my body wanted her. I was still having those intense, erotic dreams, vivid enough to feel real. My willpower was crumbling, so I gave in, more than once. We found ourselves in empty, dark offices, places with no cameras. Both of us pressed up against the glass of a window where only the Florida coast was the witness of our moments. The tension between us was a physical force, intense and undeniable. But afterward, the regret was immediate. A cold weight in my gut. I told myself it was just physical, that it meant nothing. I made the mistake of letting her into my social circle. Since she lived so close, I started inviting her over. To my surprise, she acted completely normal around my friends. She'd come over some nights bringing everyone food, dressed in these expensive-looking tracksuits or cozy pajama onesies with animal prints, complete with matching slippers. She even had Chewy in a little matching outfit sometimes. Because she was so friendly and my roommates liked her, and because they had no idea she and I were involved, it seemed safe. I let my guard down. That's why I invited her to our Super Bowl party. This time we had a bigger crowd. She didn't drink, but as always, she brought food. Then she tried to compete and keep up with some of the younger girls who were partaking in some herbs she never tried before. She took one puff and completely lost it. Panic attack. Throwing up in a plant. She demanded an ambulance, created a huge scene, turning the whole night into a dramatic emergency focused on her. I told her to just go home and sleep it off, but she refused and insisted I drive her in her own car. Since I'd been drinking, my sober roommate drove her home instead and walked back. We had the next night off, but when we both returned to work, Rita was furious. She yelled at me for not driving her home myself, insisting that as the man, I was supposed to take care of her. Then she got even more livid because during our night off, I hadn't texted her once to check on her, accusing me of humiliating her. And as if that wasn't enough, she started in on the other girls at the party, saying I probably only stayed behind to be with one of them. That's when I snapped. All the frustration just boiled over, Rita, this shit has to stop. You're delusional and crazy. You're in your 40s. You could be my mother. I want someone close to my own age, not a widow with kids my age and with grandkids on top of that. You embarrassed yourself and you're completely out of line. We're done. The words hung in the air, cruel and final. I watched her face shatter, saw the exact moment her heart broke, right there in her glassy eyes. She didn't speak. She just started by crying, grabbed Chewy, and drove away. She didn't even bother to clock out. I didn't feel bad at all. If she was stupid enough to think what we were doing was going somewhere, that was on her. She called in sick for 3 days. On the 4th day, I saw the schedule. She'd been moved to the coveted 6 a.m. shift, something people waited years for. Ray thought the world of her, so he gave her that shift. She always had this weird influence over people. I thought I was free. During a period of time, Rita stayed away from me. I was wrong. That's when the darkness descended and a string of bad luck began. I kept losing things. Keys, money, important documents. One day I was riding my motorcycle home with a gallon of milk in my backpack when a ball flew out of nowhere and hit me, sending milk everywhere. I had to go back to the store, soaked, looking like an idiot. Then I was at a club talking to a cute Colombian girl. A man I'd never seen before walked up and punched me in the face. I was knocked out cold, woke up in an ambulance, spent the night in the ER, humiliated. One night, with my roommates, we heard it. Heavy, distinct footsteps on the roof. We ran outside. In the darkness, we saw something move. It looked like a black cat, but it was too big. The size of a medium dog. It leaped from the roof, hit the ground without a sound, and vanished over the fence. It all happened so fast, we didn't even have time to grab our phones and take pictures or record it. We called the cops. They looked around and found nothing. They said it was probably a big raccoon. I wanted to believe them. Then, on a rainy day, I was cleaning the gutters and found a small black plastic bag tucked in the corner. I threw it away without a thought, but my roommate's dog dug it up and opened it. Inside was a dead bird. Let's just say someone had done something deeply disturbing to it. It had been defiled, subjected to crude and disturbing alterations that felt like the work of a psychopath. Finding it was so vile, the images seared into my memory. It started haunting my dreams, shadows chasing me, that dead bird staring back. The nightmares wrecked my sleep, and working the night shift meant my sleep schedule was already messed up. Now I was completely sleep deprived. The final blow came when an idiot flung his car door open right in my path. The impact totaled my cheap, barely legal dirt bike, and the insurance payout was a pittance. Not even close to enough to get another one. I was back in the same hospital for 3 weeks with a fractured knee, just 2 weeks after my last visit. The staff recognized me and joked I was treating the place like a resort. I was becoming a regular, and it was the last place I wanted to be. Then, to make it all worse, all 3 of my roommates moved out. Not over any drama, but still, it was suddenly. I was facing the house payment alone, and I couldn't afford it. I had to find new roommates fast. At the same time, my social circle began to dissolve. People moved away, others just drifted on. The house that was once party central went completely quiet. The life just drained out of it. Getting to work was a nightmare. The buses were unreliable, rideshare apps didn't exist here yet, and taxis were too expensive. Seeing me struggle, my boss Ray took pity. He miraculously moved me to the coveted 6 a.m. shift, temporarily until I got a new ride. And just like that, I was back working alongside Rita. Chewy was still there, the unofficial mascot. I'm not kidding, they put him in a little security guard shirt and posted his picture on the company Facebook page. Ray let her do whatever she wanted, and they'd gotten pretty buddy-buddy. I'm not gonna lie, it started to get under my skin. I didn't think anything romantic was going on between them, but I hated their easy rapport. He let her bring the dog, and everyone acted like it was the most normal thing in the world. I felt like I was taking crazy pills. The whole time, Rita kept her distance. She'd still bring in Cuban food for everyone at work, even for me, and they all adored her. At first, I was surprised she was just leaving me alone. But after a while, her indifference started to get to me, and I even started to miss her. And because I'm a dumbass with a big mouth, I kept complaining at work to whoever would listen. I would bitch and moan about my bike getting totaled, my roommates moving out, and me worrying about how I will pay rent by myself. Rita wasn't talking to me at the time, but she was listening and smirking. One afternoon, Rita found me waiting for the bus, caught up in the heavy rain. I was soaked to the bone and defeated. She pulled over. "Get in," she said. I knew it was a bad idea, but I was tired and just wanted to get home. I got in. Just like that, we started getting close again. But this time was different. It was intense, and I was vulnerable. I began spending nights at her place. The first time I walked into Rita's house, the immaculate sterility of it hit me like a wall. Not just clean, but sterilized. The air itself felt vacuumed. Every surface, the floors, the glass tables, the metallic fixtures, shone with an aggressive, liquid gleam. Not a fingerprint or a stray dust mote in sight. It was impossibly, obsessively orderly. Everything was positioned with geometric precision. Not a lived-in home, but a stage set. The throw pillows sat at perfect right angles. The magazines were fanned in identical arcs, and the air smelled of lemony polish. It made my own presence feel like a contamination. And in that moment, I understood the depth of her sickness. Rita wasn't just tidy. Her perfection was a symptom, an obsessive-compulsive neurosis dressed as order. The type of compulsion of someone who could not tolerate a single thing out of place, especially another person's will. Despite all that, the magnetic pull came back and the dreams returned, stronger than ever. With my search for roommates going nowhere, she started pressuring me to move in with her. That's when I started noticing things. Like the room dedicated to her dead husband, a full shrine. In his photos, he looked like me. It was unnerving. I started thinking maybe she'd seen me before and started stalking me. Her getting the job wasn't random. I dismissed the thought as me being paranoid. One morning, I woke up early and saw her in the backyard. One of her strictly indoor cats had a bird in its mouth. Rita cooed, "You make mama proud, my little pearl," and gently took the still fluttering bird and placed it inside a small shed. She petted the cat, gave it treats. The memory of the dead, mutilated birds on my roof flashed in my mind, but I dismissed it. It couldn't be her. Why would she? One night, feeling a restless need for company, I decided to walk to her house unannounced. I called out Rita's name, but the house was silent. My family hadn't raised me religious. My visits to church could be counted on one hand. Yet I recognized the familiar icons arranged throughout the common areas of her immaculate home. Jesus, the Virgin Mary, countless crosses, and many angels watching from shelves and walls. An unmistakable Catholic pantheon. Then I saw a light from a room I'd never entered. I heard a low, rhythmic chanting. I cracked the door open. There she was, before a different kind of altar. This one had figures I didn't recognize if they were saints or demons, with darker, intense expressions and twisted in shadow. They were surrounded by burning incense, herbs, and strange symbols. It felt ancient and dark. I backed away silently, my heart pounding. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself she was just praying, but the whole scene had a creepy vibe. I didn't want to disturb her, so I locked the door and went home. I never told her what I saw, but a bad feeling lingered with me. One of the roommates who had moved out had already paid 1 month's rent in advance, and since he left the country and couldn't take his car, a decent, fairly new one, he gave it to me. The car was worth about 3 months' rent, which bought me crucial time. Janira, my ex, came over to take pictures of the car for her dad, my landlord, to see if he would accept it as rent. Part of me was thinking about just keeping the car and moving in with Rita to end all the stress, but a deeper instinct screamed that it was a terrible idea. When Janira came over and saw how on edge I was, I just broke down. It all came pouring out. The stress of my roommates leaving, my motorcycle being totaled, the relentless string of bad luck. Then I finally confessed to the thing that had been haunting me. The dead birds I had found in bags on my roof that had been altered in unsettling ways. And the thing I'd seen on the roof. She didn't call me crazy or laughed at me. Her face just grew very, very worried. "Kylan," she said in a serious tone, "I think someone has put something on you. Brujeria. Witchcraft." I laughed it off. "I don't believe in that shit," I told her. But Janira laid it all out, repeating everything I'd told her. How my life had spiraled into crap right after I found those first birds. Then she offered to bring her aunt, a santera, a Cuban spiritualist, to do a cleansing on the house and on me. I was desperate. I, who didn't believe in that stuff, found myself ready to grasp at any straw. So I agreed. Janira brought her aunt over one day when I was off, and luckily, Rita was out of town. It was the perfect timing because by that point, Rita wouldn't let me breathe. Before the spiritual cleansing even began, her aunt walked through the house and went straight to a plant in the backyard. She dug into the soil and pulled out a doll with my face. It was wrapped in a pair of women's red panties, all tied with a red cloth. The whole bundle was stuck together with what looked like honey and covered in herbs and dried roses. The aunt gave Janira a look, asking her to give us a moment alone. Once we were by ourselves, she turned a stern gaze on me. "Chico," she said, her voice strong and certain, "I know what you did. Your secret is safe with me. I won't tell Janira." She held up the doll, her eyes locking with mine. "I see her, an older woman. She stalked you for months, wove herself into your life. She bound you to her with her most intimate female essence. She put it in your food." Her gaze hardened. "And when you pulled away, she cursed you. The dead birds, that's where your bad luck began. They were her curses, meant to break you down, to isolate you from everyone in your life, to leave you so desperate you'd have nowhere to run, except back to her." Her eyes dropped to the doll in her hands. "This is very strong, very dark magic work. I am taking it." I was grossed out and a cold shiver shot down my spine. How the hell did she know that? I had only told Janira about the dead birds and the string of bad luck. I had never mentioned Rita or that we had been involved. Yet this woman saw it all. The Olympia began with the house itself, a thorough cleansing of every room. After she was done, she told me to strip down to my underwear. I hesitated, but she insisted it was necessary. So I stood there, exposed, which immediately made the whole thing 10 times more awkward and intense. The air grew thick with a sweet, cloying incense. She circled me, chanting words I couldn't understand while briskly swatting my head, shoulders, and spine with a bundle of herbs, as if beating dust from a rug. Next, she lit a cigar. Acrid smoke cut through the incense as she drew deeply, then blew warm, bitter clouds over my head, chest, and palms, murmuring prayers into the haze. She then took a sip from a small bottle and spat hard alcohol onto my chest and shoulders. I flinched, but her domineering presence kept me rooted in place, cold, wet, and bewildered. Next, she took a raw egg out of her bag. I remember thinking, what the hell is she gonna do with that? She started rolling it over me, on my chest, down my arms. The shell was cold and smooth against my skin. It was the weirdest feeling, and way too personal for someone I just met. I just stood there in my underwear feeling stupid and exposed. Finally, she cracked it into a glass of water. We both looked in. The yolk was darkened at the center, tangled in spidery white threads that reached up through the water. It looked infected. "You see this?" she said, her face grim. "This is what was on you. The bad luck, the jealousy." I didn't understand the prayers or the herbs, but the proof was in the glass. That rotten, tangled egg was something I couldn't explain. Something evil pulled right out of me. I remember after she was done with the cleansing, a sudden, rolling nausea hit me. I barely made it to the bathroom before I threw up. It wasn't normal. It was nasty, vile, a dark, sludgy mess that didn't look like anything I'd eaten. The aunt stood in the doorway, not surprised. "It's the trabajo leaving your body, Chico," she shouted in that strong, confident Cuban accent. "You may be sick like this for a few days. Don't fight it. Your spirit is finally pushing the poison out." The idea that this filth was coming from inside me, that it was the physical proof of Rita's witchcraft, was more terrifying than any dead bird. Right after the limpia, I started slowly distancing myself from Rita. I didn't want to be around her anymore, and I made sure we were never intimate again. She noticed. Then things started getting better. I finally found 2 roommates who could split the rent. That's when she appeared. Her name was Angela. She was of Chilean descent with beautiful wavy dark hair and olive skin. She had a naturally voluptuous figure with a tiny waist, and she was one of those rare people who was stunning without a drop of makeup. She just didn't wear it. It was a stark contrast to Rita, who never left the house without full makeup, somehow applying it flawlessly before I even woke up. But more than her beauty, it was Angela's calm, grounded energy that pulled me in. We clicked instantly, discovering we loved the same books, the same music, the same video games. She was a smart paralegal, only 2 years younger than me. This wasn't a game. It felt pure. It felt real. For the first time, I saw a future. I was in love. I told Rita I found new roommates. She was pissed off. I used their move-in as an excuse to avoid her, telling her I was too busy to see her or text back. Once Angela was there, we started spending all our time together. Since she had a car, she let me use it for work. I went straight to Ray and got switched back to the night shift. The 6 a.m. shift was only a temporary arrangement until I got my transportation sorted, so it was an easy switch to make. I didn't tell Rita. I stopped going to her house. I stopped texting or answering her texts. When she realized I was gone from the day shift and completely cutting her off, she started desperately blowing up my phone again. Finally, I texted her back. "Look, I have my own ride now. I think we need to end this." My phone exploded. Rita blew it up with another 40 missed calls and about 50 texts, most in all caps. One just screamed, "Who is she?" It was followed by an angry novel of a long text. I didn't even bother reading it. I just didn't care anymore. The last message finally read, "Fine, if that's what you want." All I texted back was 2 words, "Thank you." After that, she really disappeared. And this time, I really thought I was free. How wrong I was. For the next 2 years, I was truly happy. Angela and I started dating, and she soon moved into my room, which allowed me to rent out the other one. The house was alive again, filled with friends, laughter, and parties. But this time, it was different. This time, I had Angela. Angela and I were inseparable, and we flaunted our happiness all over Facebook. Photos from our trips, our parties, even our quiet nights in. We made it official, proudly updating our relationship status for everyone to see. And since I still had Rita on my friends list, I knew she was seeing it all. She saw the joy, the love, the life I was building without her. Then came the moment I couldn't believe. She actually liked the photo where Angela and I announced we were official. My first thought was, maybe the Olympia really did work. Maybe she was finally over me. But during this time, we experimented with a hard substance at a party. I tried it once and stopped. Angela, however, didn't. It started small, just on weekends. But soon, I couldn't ignore the changes. Her moods would swing, her energy was just gone. Soon, she was using at work, got fired. Paired with heavy drinking, she grew erratic and volatile. Our money started to vanish. She sold her car to pay for her habit. Then I discovered the truth. Behind my back, she'd sunk to illegal acts she once would have found revolting, all to support her addiction. In less than 2 years, the intelligent, vibrant woman I loved was gone. Her eyes were hollow. She'd lost weight. Her hair was thinning. The girl I knew had vanished, replaced by a stranger completely consumed by her addiction. We fought constantly. One night, she came at me with a knife. I ran out of the house and she chased me, tripped, and hit her head on the concrete. She passed away instantly. The police saw the bruises on her body from her self-destructive lifestyle and assumed I was responsible. I was arrested and spent 3 months in jail. Janira was the only one who visited. She and her aunt performed remote cleansings for me. They cleansed the house and found more witchcraft birds around the house that I missed. During my time in jail, a priest would visit monthly to hold mass and hear confessions. Though I'm not religious, he reached out to me when I was desperate, and I told him I was innocent. He gave me a blessing, a rosary, and a prayer card. Left with nothing else, I did something I had never done in my life. I sat there in jail, praying to a God I didn't even believe in. Then, a miracle. The landlord of the apartment building opposite kept its lobby CCTV footage for 1 year. After a formal request from my lawyer, they provided the hard drive. The camera captured the whole 3 a.m. fight, proving Angela fell on her own. With this new evidence properly documented, the charges were dismissed. I was released for wrongful imprisonment. This was all around 2018. I moved back in with my parents, temporarily, until eventually I was able to get back on my own. I never deleted Rita from Facebook. Janira's aunt told me that the evil someone puts out will return to them. I kept Rita on my friends list, out of morbid curiosity to witness that return firsthand. But I didn't know about the cost of holding a grudge that size. Just as Rita was once obsessed with me, I became obsessed with her. Not with love, but with a bitter, rotting hate for what she did to my life and to Angela. After I got out of jail, I didn't know what to credit for that miracle. The desperate rosary prayers I'd whispered, or the fierce rituals Janira's aunt performed. Maybe both. But once I was free, I stuffed that rosary in a box and turned my back on prayer and on God. I told myself I didn't need it. Instead, I fed the grudge. I'd scroll through Rita's profile for hours, watching her live it up with some new guy, traveling, smiling, living as if she hadn't shattered my world. It ate at me. I was keeping tabs, waiting for the fall I'd been promised. Then, Late in 2019, I found it. A photo of a Cartagena sunset on her page, captioned, "Enjoying the sunset before the big day." The first comment read, "RIP sweet angel." I fell down the rabbit hole, scrolling for days through hundreds of comments to piece the story together. She'd been in Colombia with a new boyfriend. Her feed was a glossy reel of luxury hotels and fancy dinners. But the big day was a plastic surgery procedure. It went wrong and she passed away on the operating table. Her daughter took over her account and turned it into a memorial page, posted funeral pictures, moved into her house, adopted her pets. The world kept mourning a sweet angel, and it made my blood boil. They never saw the monster I knew. You'd think I'd feel vindicated, justice served, karma delivered, but I didn't. I just felt hollow. All that time I'd spent feeding my hatred had changed nothing for her, but it had corroded something in me. The grudge was a poison I drank, waiting for her to get sick. Now I'm 40, back in my rural Florida hometown, working nights as a security guard again, and living alone in a mobile home. I'm isolated, my only company being a few work acquaintances and a drinking habit I know is a problem. I'm overweight, balding, and I haven't been with a woman since Angela. That dry spell isn't just bad luck, it's a symptom. The PTSD from what Rita did is one thing, but I fed it with the poison of my own making. Pure hatred. I loved Angela, but I've been obsessed with Rita. I visit Angela's memory to grieve, but I haunt Rita's Facebook to rage, scrolling through the funeral posts, the RIP tributes, feeding on the evidence of her end. In a sick way, the woman I hate lives in my head, rent-free, long after she's been gone, taking up more space than the woman I ever loved. I've been keeping myself a prisoner, watching Rita's life, and then her death, while my own rots away. That's the real reason I'm like this. Angry, stuck, and living in the past. Finally, I've made the decision to start therapy and evict these demons for good. But the most important lesson isn't about magic, is about hatred. Holding a grudge doesn't punish the other person. It builds a prison around your own heart. I've been so busy watching Rita's life through a screen that I stopped living my own. So, what did I learn? That witchcraft is real, the devil is real, and God is real. I learned that hatred is a poison you drink yourself, and the only antidote is to let it go. I learned not to take gifts from strangers or eat their food, to run at the first chill of danger. Because sometimes the sweetest face hides the darkest heart. Rita's entire religious persona was a front, a brilliant disguise so no one would ever guess she was an evil psychotic witch. Thank you for listening. Please hit like and subscribe for more stories. And tell me in the comments if you've ever had a creepy experience like this.